up, my fellow thugs? This week on Thug Notes, we're going to be evaluating the thug-filled book, The Jungle by Upton Sinclair. The book's main character, Jurgis, and his bride owner are getting married in the early 1900s in Packingtown, the girls' meatpacking sector of Chicago. Owner's all worried about the cost of the wedding, to which Jurgis responds like, "Yo, I will work harder." See, 12 people from Ona and Jurgis' family came over to America from Lithuania chasing the so-called American dream. Jurgis, Ona's cousin Maria, and Ona's step-uncle Jonas all find jobs in damn girls' conditions. The fam scrapes enough money together to buy a new house, but the house turns out to be a freaking rental with more hidden costs than you could ever dream of. To make the heinous payments, Jurgis' daddy Didi Antonis, Ona's stepbro Stanislavas, and Ona herself all obtain odd jobs. Winters frankly suck in Packingtown, and Didi Antonis says his life claimed by the first one. To Moses, a little pipsqueak violin player, gets engaged to the big and strong Maria, but they can't marry because they ain't got no money after Maria's factory closes down. Jurgis gets all involved by joining a union, learning English, and becoming a U.S. citizen, and Ona gives birth to a baby boy, little Antonis. Then everything collapses. Jurgis sprains his ankle and loses his job, Stanislavas gets frostbite, and Jonas leaves the family. Once Jurgis gets all healthy, he has to work at a stinky fertilizer plant, and the stench gets all up in his skin. Ona becomes sick, and Jurgis starts to inhale alcohol to deal with his stress. Ona breaks some really crappy news to Jurgis. Her boss, Connor, forced her to become his mistress. Jurgis goes into beast mode and mauls Connor like a lion on a zebra. Jurgis goes to jail, and the family straight falls apart. Once Jurgis leaves the bars, he finds out that the family has lost the house and Ona is painfully in labor again. A fat midwife is unable to save Ona, so Jurgis takes Katrina's income and makes a beeline to the bar. Jurgis discovers that he is blacklisted in Packingtown, so he searches in Chicago itself, finding work at a harvester plant and then at a freaky steel mill. One weekend, he comes home to find out his pride and joy Antonis has died when he drowns in the street, so he's all overcome with grown man emotion and skips town. After hoboing in the country, he returns to Chicago for the winter. He breaks his arm and lacks any income, so he becomes a beggar. He ends up getting a $100 bill from a drunk rich guy named Freddie Jones, but goes to jail after going ape on a bartender who will not give him the appropriate amount of change. Back in Bradwell jail, he reunites with his acquaintance Jack Dwayne, who he teams up with in the criminal underworld once he gets out of that joint. Shortly after, he returns to Packingtown in a vote-buying scheme for the corrupt Democrat Mike Scully. He has a chance running with Connor, and he goes all round two on him. After posting bail to get out of jail once again, he returns to Chicago and finds Maria, who is now a prostitute. The police raid the brothel, but when he is released, he wanders into a socialist party meeting. With a newfound purpose in life, Jurgis gets all wrapped up in the socialist ways and ends the novel listening to a speaker who declares, "Chicago will be ours." Swole Sinclair basically has two main purposes in writing this novel. Expose the absolutely horrific conditions that are found all throughout that stanky Packingtown, and promote the socialist ways as a preferred method to the capitalism that is especially common in big cities like Chicago. He succeeds with flying colors at accomplishing his first task. Just look at Chapter 3, where Sinclair says, "There were high squeals and low squeals, grunts and wails of agony. There would come a momentary lull, and then a fresh outburst, louder than ever, surging into a deafening climax." To say the least, those animals were being treated like crap, and PETA would have basically declared war on Packingtown if they had that kind of power. Then there is the last 4 chapters of this bad boy, which basically constitute a story in itself. Sinclair turns it more into a list of all the goods of socialism, instead of finishing up the story of the unfortunate Jurgis. Take Chapter 31, for example, when Jurgis is attending a meeting and listening to the fiery words of a fierce socialist who's all like, "So long as we have wage slavery, it matters not in the least how debasing and repulsive a task may be. It is easy to find people to perform it. But just as soon as labor is set free, then the price of such work will begin to rise. So one by one, the old dingy and unsanitary factories come down." Whether or not these argumentative techniques are effective is not for me to decide, because I'm just a stupid thug that don't know anything about politics. Regardless, tune in next week when we tackle the book Of Mice and Men. Peace out.